Looking for ways to overcome imposter syndrome? Psychology Today describes imposter syndrome as a psychological term referring to a pattern of behavior where people doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent, often internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. That's including me. I have 100% experienced imposter syndrome. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the tips that have helped me overcome it. In fact, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 8 tips for how to overcome imposter syndrome. Hey, you might not know who I am. I'm Abby Ashley. I'm the founder of the Virtual Savvy. I teach people how to work from home as virtual assistants, and I'm also sharing tons of tips right here on my channel about being your own boss, including mindset tips, organizational tips, and how to grow, market, scale your business. So if you like hearing videos like that, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and click the bell to be notified every time I go live. So how do you know if you struggle with imposter syndrome? One of the key signs is if you are really, really bad at accepting compliments.
I like your dress.
This dress? Oh, this dress is super old. I think I got it on clearance, maybe? It was, does Kmart exist? I got it at Kmart. It's old, it's ugly. It was in the grandmother section. They had a section. If this sounds like you at all, you may be suffering from imposter syndrome. So let me give you some quick tips for how to overcome it. Step number 1, let's call it what it is. If you want to get over imposter syndrome, you have to actually recognize that you may have it a little bit, and that's okay. Most of us actually do suffer from it a little bit. So call it what it is, go ahead and recognize it, and then we can take the steps to get over it. Here are some signs that you may actually have imposter syndrome. If you're someone who finds it hard to accept praise, maybe you feel like you got lucky when you actually prepared well and worked really hard. You hold yourself to incredibly, sometimes impossibly high standards. You find the fear of failure paralyzing. You avoid expressing confidence because you think people will see it as overcompensating or obnoxious. You're convinced you're not enough, or you apologize for yourself when you didn't actually do anything wrong. I see you. All right, step number 2, after you've recognized that this may actually exist, the next thing you can do is accept the fact that it's okay if you're good at something. I think sometimes we get the idea that if we accept that we're actually good at something, that we're not being humble or we're not being gracious, which is actually completely untrue. I heard a quote once that said, humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less often. I think a really cool exercise to do with this is to make a brag list for yourself. What are some things that you can acknowledge that you are really good at? It's okay to write those down and to own them. What would be on your brag list? Maybe you're good at public speaking. Maybe you have really creative ideas. Maybe you're just really determined and you overcome hard obstacles, or you have previously in your life. Write those things down, and I challenge you, the next time somebody compliments you on something on your brag list, try just saying thank you. Step number 3 is to embrace action over perfection. This is actually one of our core values here at our company, the Virtual Savvy. The reality is, just like you are good at some things, you're not going to be perfect at most things the first time you try them. But most of us get so caught up in the fear of not being perfect that we don't take any action at all. So when we're talking about imposter syndrome, a lot of times it's rooted in that fear of not being perfect. But if you can accept the good, you can accept the bad too. So start to think of the things now that maybe you need to embrace action over perfection. Maybe it's a portfolio that you've been working on, a presentation for your boss. What could it be that you just need to step forward, even if it's not 100% confident? This action is actually going to help you in the process of beating imposter syndrome. Step number 4, set a goal in the future tense. This is a hack that I recently discovered, but it's really, really powerful. Rather than saying, I would like to become a good public speaker, actually write down what you want to accomplish after you've practiced public speaking. So I can get in front of an audience and speak confidently and proficiently. This is a better goal because it actually helps you feel what it's going to be like when you achieve it. But you can't just write down the goal and then hope it's magically going to happen. You have to actually come up with a plan. So let's say you want to be a better public speaker. Come up with a plan on ways you're going to actually learn the art of public speaking and how you're actually going to practice it to get better. Come up with a plan. Step number 5, keep metrics. I have to admit, I'm not normally a metrics numbers person, but it's been incredibly awesome to see my progress when I keep track of how I'm doing. This could be anything that you're learning. Maybe it's progress through a course that you're creating on how to learn a certain subject, and you say, I've completed module 1, number 2, number 3, and you can check those off. And it's a visual symbol of how you're progressing. Maybe you're learning to lift weights, and first you could lift 5 pounds, then 10, then 20, then 40, and you can actually see your progress because you're keeping tracks of the metrics to get you there. Now, some things that you're trying to learn how to do may be more difficult to keep metrics of, but I challenge you to get creative here, because if you can actually track your progress in numbers, even if it's just time spent working on that subject, you're going to see progress and it's going to be really rewarding. Step number 6, tell someone. Imposter syndrome can be incredibly overwhelming, but the reality is more people deal with it than we actually realize. So by sharing your struggle with somebody and the steps that you're taking to overcome it, you can actually give less power to the thing, literally just by voicing it out loud. So who's somebody that you trust? Who's somebody that you feel like you can be vulnerable with? Let them know about what you're working through right now and how you're planning to move forward. Step number 7, say yes to hard things. You might still have that voice in your head saying, I can't do this, I can't do this. One of the things that has really helped me is to start telling myself, I do hard things well. And when I look back, I actually realize that it's true. I may not feel like I'm a very strong or confident person, but when I look back at my life, I've made some really strong and confident decisions. I've persevered even when things got difficult. So look at the times in your life that you've done that yourself, and then make a commitment that you're going to continue saying yes to hard things, because that's just the person you are. And lastly, step number 8, don't expect it to completely go away. When I was in college, I traveled with a motivational speaker. He spoke all over the world to conferences of hundreds of thousands of people. And he told me once that still, after years and years of public speaking, he would get in front of people, and right before he stepped on that stage, he would still get that feeling in his stomach of nervousness and self-doubt. But the important thing is that he faced it with truth and he got on stage anyways. Know that the feeling doesn't completely go away, but the more you practice boldness, the more it will just start to become who you are. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I know that it's not something easy to overcome. Imposter syndrome is real, but once we actually start to face it, guys, opportunities are incredible. You can do bigger things than you actually realize. And we talked a little bit about accountability. Community, guys, it's so incredibly important. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to thevirtualsavvy.com/community. This is a group of over 60,000 small business owners, virtual assistants, creative freelancers, and we're all in this thing together, venturing out after things that are bigger than us. So if you want to be surrounded by that community, go ahead, click the link right here, and we would love to see you inside. Oh, thank you. It's actually really old. I think I got it on clearance somewhere. It's dingy. It has a hole in the back and like 4 places under the arm. It's on clearance. It's old. It's like 3 years old. I hate it. It's ugly. You're ugly. I'm dumb. You're dumb. I am an imposter. Gotta make it a